Captain Hale, you're not supposed to be alive. The words echoed in the cold chamber, bouncing off the cracked steel walls of the derelict outpost. Blue emergency lights flickered, painting the dust and ruin in pulses of dying color. A faint hum from broken machinery filled the silence like the breath of a sleeping beast. Captain Rian Hale stood barefoot on the scorched floor, skin pale, eyes burning with something between pain and defiance. The medbay reeked of old smoke and sterilized decay. His chest rose unevenly as the neural sync implant in his neck pulsed a dull red. Dead, yet alive. Across from him, the synthetic officer, Unit Lyra, watched with calculated disbelief. Her amber eyes flickered with diagnostic patterns, her mechanical voice trembling for the first time since her creation. You died in orbit above Viralstory 4. Your vitals ceased. We buried you in the data logs, she said, confusion breaking her usual calm. Ryan's lips curved into a faint smirk. Then delete the log, he rasped, voice gravelly but charged with that familiar human swagger. I'm back to finish what we started. A thunderous boom rolled through the station. The deck plates shivered underfoot. Dust fell from the ceiling like gray snow. Somewhere deep below, something massive was waking. Lyra's optics brightened. The storm's begun. The Viralstory front is moving again. Good, Rian muttered. He turned toward the viewport, where the vast expanse of the gas giant swirled in bruised colors of purple and gold. Lightning arced between its storms, and far in the distance, metallic shadows drifted in formation. Alien warships, long and sharp as razors. He had seen those ships before, the day he died, the day humanity fell back. A faint tremor passed through his hands. Not fear, something colder. Memory. He remembered the scream of his crew as their cruiser burned. Remembered issuing the command to ram their dying vessel into the enemy flagship. He remembered the blinding light and then nothing until now. How long was I gone? He asked, eyes locked on the distant storm. Lyra hesitated. 3 years. The war ended a year ago. Rian turned sharply. Ended? Humanity surrendered. The Council signed the Armistice of Cinder. The Viralstory Accord forbids military presence in this sector. We are relics, Captain. The silence that followed was heavy enough to crush bone. Rian exhaled slowly, the air trembling through his teeth. So they gave up. They survived, Lyra corrected softly. He faced her fully now, eyes sharp. Survived is not the same as living. You know that. Outside, lightning flared again, this time illuminating a shape much closer to the station. A dark leviathan drifting through the mist, its hull bristling with glowing veins of alien biometal. Lyra's voice turned brittle. They're scanning the outpost. They'll find us soon. Rian glanced at the weapons rack beside the wall, half empty, rusted, but still holding an old rail rifle and a plasma cutter. He grabbed both, checking the charge cells by instinct. His movements were fluid despite the stiffness in his limbs. Death hadn't dulled him, it had sharpened him. Then let's make sure they remember why humans never stay buried, he said quietly. Another rumble shook the station. The distant warship was descending. Lyra's sensors pinged rapidly. You cannot fight them, Captain. We have no power, no reinforcements. Even if you survive the landing, he cut her off with a raised hand. If I survive? He smirked again, the old spark returning. Lyra, you should know by now. Humans don't survive. We adapt, improvise, and ruin the odds. The chamber lights flickered once more before dying completely, plunging them into half-darkness. The only glow came from the pulse in Rian's neck. Steady and crimson like a heart refusing to die, a voice crackled through the static of the comms array. Alien, distorted, echoing through multiple frequencies. Outpost Echo 7 detected. Unknown human signature. Prepare for retrieval, Lyra froze. They know you're here. Rian loaded the rifle with a click that echoed like a gunshot in the dark. Good, he said. Let them come. As he moved toward the exit, the corridor beyond hissed with escaping vapor, the sound like the slow draw of a predator's breath. Lyra followed, hesitant but drawn by something she couldn't calculate. Hope, perhaps, or the strange gravitational pull of human defiance. Outside, lightning carved brief silhouettes of distant ships closing in. The void whispered promises of death. But Captain Hale smiled. He was already dead once. What more could they take? The door slid open to the storm beyond, and the dead man walked out to start the war again. The storm hit like a fist of liquid fire. Lightning danced across the gas giant's turbulent sky, cracking the thin hull of Outpost Echo 7 with bursts of static that rattled Rian Hale's teeth. The wind screamed through the skeletal remains of the station like a chorus of vengeful spirits. Each gust carried shards of metal, dust, and ash, the ghosts of his past failures swirling around him. "Captain," Lyra's voice cut through the howl of the storm. "The hull won't hold for long. Structural integrity at 42%. You need to talk later." Ryan's boots crunched on the warped metal deck as he pressed forward, rail rifle held low. His eyes, sharp and cold, scanned the shadows between flickering lightning strikes. "We survived the storm by moving through it, not hiding from it." A sudden tremor underfoot threw him sideways, and he skidded across a scorched panel. Sparks flew from the damaged conduit beside him. Lyra extended a mechanical hand and he caught her arm mid-fall. "You humans are reckless," she muttered, voice tinged with both exasperation and something eerily like admiration. Rian smirked. "Reckless keeps us alive when the smart ones run and hide." The corridor ahead opened into the observation deck. The shattered glass panes offered a perfect view of the approaching Leviathan-class warship. Its hull was a black wound against the swirling violet sky, veins of green energy pulsating as if the ship itself were alive. Smaller fighters darted around it, lightning bouncing off their alien forms. "Too many," Lyra said quietly, scanning the incoming fleet. "Even if you fight, Captain, you can't—" He cut her off, pressing his palm to the cracked viewport. "Watch and learn, Lyra. Humans never think small." A deep rumble rolled through the deck. The outpost trembled like it might collapse under the approaching alien power, yet Rian moved with uncanny calm, checking the charge cells of the plasma cutter. His gaze was locked not on fear but on strategy, memory, and something darker. Vengeance. "You died," Lyra whispered, almost to herself. "How?" Rian turned, eyes blazing under the flickering light. "Because I didn't finish what I started, and now I get another chance." He began recalibrating the station's failing turrets, rerouting power from non-essential systems. Sparks flew and the air filled with the acrid smell of burnt circuits. Each panel he touched seemed to recognize his will, responding faster than it ever did before. Dead or alive, he was a human, and humans had a strange way of bending machines to their stubbornness. "Captain," Lyra said, tension lacing her voice. "Even if we hold, the storm will tear the hull apart before the reinforcements arrive." "Then we don't hold," Rian said, stepping into the command center. "We hit them where it hurts and vanish before they can react." Outside, one of the alien fighters broke formation and streaked toward the station. Rian raised his rifle, fingers steady, and fired. The shot tore through the fighter's energy shield, sending it spinning into the storm. Lyra's optics flared. Precision? Impossible under these conditions. "Impossible is just a suggestion," he replied, a grin tugging at his cracked lips. Another fighter came, faster this time, weaving between lightning strikes. Ryan's plasma cutter hummed to life, and with one precise swing he shattered its hull. Sparks and debris rained around him. He didn't flinch. Humans thrived in chaos. It was their battlefield, their instinct. Then came the rumble, a sound deeper than thunder, vibrating through every molecule in the station. The Leviathan warship had arrived at orbit. Its massive shadow eclipsed the dying sun, and every system in the outpost screamed in response. "They're scanning again," Lyra said, voice trembling. "They'll breach in minutes." Ryan's hands tightened on his weapons. He felt the old rush, the adrenaline, the certainty, the dangerous thrill that came from standing against impossible odds. He remembered the screams of his crew, the flashes of his own death, and now he would turn all of that into fire. "Then let's remind them," he said, voice low and deadly, "why humans never stay dead." The station shuddered violently as the first wave of alien drones crashed against the hull. Sparks flew, Steele screamed, and Rian Hale, dead once and unstoppable now, moved through it like a storm incarnate. Lyra followed, calculating odds, but unable to resist the raw pull of human defiance. She realized something that sensors could never measure. Humans did not live by rules, by probability, or by fear. They lived by will. The Leviathan's shadow loomed over the station, a predator settling on its prey. Yet inside the battered metal shell, a human moved with deadly purpose, eyes like coals, heart like fire, and a mind sharp as a razor. Every strike, every shot, Every calculated risk carried not just survival, but a promise the war wasn't over. Not yet, and the dead man was unstoppable. The hull groaned under the relentless assault. Sparks danced like fireflies in the chaos, the metallic screech of twisting steel ringing in Rian Hale's ears. Outpost Echo 7 shuddered with every impact from alien drones, yet he moved as if the storm were nothing more than a gentle wind against his skin. "Captain, we are losing structural support in Sector 12. Lyra's mechanical voice broke through the cacophony. "Hull breach is imminent. You must... I'll take it from here." Ryan's eyes glinted with defiance. He grabbed the emergency harness and vaulted over the chasm where the floor had cracked open. His movements smooth despite the weakness that death had left in his muscles. He landed hard, but the impact didn't slow him. Humans had a way of ignoring pain until the battle was won. Through the shattered observation deck, he saw the Leviathan warship hovering like a dark sentinel. Its surface shimmered with alien energy, veins pulsing in eerie rhythm. Ryan felt the weight of what he had once called impossible, yet he had returned to face it. He could almost hear the whispers of the crew he had lost urging him forward. "You returned?" The voice of the alien commander echoed through the station's comm frequencies, distorted yet unmistakable. "Why does the dead walk?" Ryan smirked, lifting his rail rifle. "Because I still have business to finish, and you? You should have learned not to underestimate humans." A sudden explosion tore through the deck behind him, and he was thrown forward into a twisted beam. Pain flared, but he gritted his teeth. He rose again, dragging the plasma cutter from the debris. The storm outside intensified, rain of ionized particles striking the hull like shards of glass. "Captain, you shouldn't be able to survive this," Lyra said, voice trembling, her optics flickering with uncertainty. I told you, Lyra," Ryan interrupted, scanning the incoming drones with a predator's focus. "Humans don't survive. We adapt, we endure, we dominate." A squad of alien drones breached the outer corridor. Their claws tore through metal, energy tendrils snaking toward him. Ryan moved with instinct, dodging, slicing, shooting. Each strike precise, each movement economical. The storm outside mirrored the chaos inside, lightning illuminating the deadly ballet. "Captain, your heartbeat is irregular," Lyra noted, monitoring his vitals. "You are alive," he said simply, eyes locked on the next wave of attackers. "And that's enough for now." The Leviathan shifted in orbit, its size suddenly filling every viewport. Its energy pulsed like a heartbeat, each beat sending tremors through the station. Ryan's mind raced. He had survived death once, but could he endure the living nightmare above him? He didn't wait for the answer. Using the chaos, he recalibrated the station's remaining turrets, aiming them at the alien vessel. Sparks flew as he bypassed the damaged conduits. "Let's make them feel fear," he muttered. "Humans aren't just fighters, we're stormbreakers." One of the drones lunged at him, claws aimed for his chest. With a swift motion, Ryan swung the plasma cutter, slicing through armor and tendons. Sparks erupted, the smell of ozone and burning metal filling the air. He didn't flinch. Pain was a language he had learned to translate into fuel. Lyra's sensors pinged alarms. "The storm is destabilizing the station. We have 38 minutes before total collapse." "Then 38 minutes is all I need," Ryan said, moving toward the central conduit. He ripped open access panels, forcing the remaining energy to surge toward the turrets. Sparks rained down like fireflies, and the air vibrated with the raw power of human ingenuity. Outside, the Leviathan recoiled as its energy shields faltered under precise bursts from the station. Ryan grinned, blood and sweat mixing with the grime on his face. "You see, Lyra, humans always find a way to fight back." The alien voice boomed again through the comm channels. "You cannot prevail. You are dead?" Ryan finished for them, his smirk sharp as the rail rifle's edge. "Maybe, but dead men still get their revenge." Another massive impact shook the station. The floor cracked beneath them, sending debris tumbling into the abyss. Ryan's heart pounded, not with fear, but with something stronger: purpose. Every memory of his fallen crew, every moment of failure, every second of death itself fueled him. "We strike now," he said, voice low but commanding. "We hit them where they think we are weakest, and we remind them what humans are capable of." Lyra hesitated, sensing the risk, but followed. She had seen enough to know this was more than survival. It was human pride incarnate, defiance incarnate. As the Leviathan prepared to descend, Ryan raised his rifle, plasma cutter humming, eyes glowing with determination. The storm around them raged, the outpost cracking, and the dead man once buried in memory and silence and stood unstoppable, ready to write the next chapter in humanity's legacy. Outside, the first salvo of retaliation streaked toward the alien warship, tracing the deadly human signature across the violet storm. And for the first time since his resurrection, Rian Hale felt the sweet clarity of control. The first wave of retaliation tore through the violet storm, tracer streaks cutting like silver knives across the alien sky. The Leviathan warship shuddered, its pulse of green energy flickering under the station's relentless assault. Rian Hale leaned against the warped metal of the observation deck, eyes scanning every shadow, every glint of movement. "Captain." Lyra's voice hummed with tension. "They are adapting. Their countermeasures are synchronizing. We have 5 minutes before their drones breach the reactor core." Rian didn't flinch. 5 minutes is enough to remind them that humans don't surrender. Ever. He recalibrated the rail rifle, checking its plasma cells. Sparks leapt from exposed conduits, but he welcomed them. They were the heartbeat of the storm, a rhythm he could ride. The corridor shuddered violently and a section of ceiling collapsed. Dust and twisted metal filled the air, choking and thick. Yet Rian pressed forward, dragging a fallen section of conduit like a shield. His pulse was steady, his mind clear. The dead did not tremble. They calculated. They destroyed. Outside, the Leviathan rotated slowly, massive claws slicing through the storm clouds. Smaller fighter drones swarmed the station, weaving with predatory precision. Lightning danced across their hulls, illuminating them in fleeting bursts. "They're everywhere," Lyra whispered, scanning the onslaught. "Even with your tactics, Captain. You cannot—" Rian cut her off with a sharp laugh, ragged but confident. "Can't? Lyra, humans thrive when the impossible is shoved in our face. We turn chaos into opportunity. You'll see." He dropped into the central conduit, sparks flying as he forced the emergency power lines toward the turrets. Each pulse of energy lit the chamber, making shadows dance like wraiths. He felt alive in a way he never had before death. Sharper than ever, each nerve and thought firing with brutal clarity. A drone burst through a weakened panel, claws extended. Rian's plasma cutter sang through the air, searing the alien metal. Sparks rained around him, smoke curling like fingers of a phantom. The drone shrieked in alien resonance and collapsed. Rian didn't pause to watch. It was efficiency, not cruelty, that kept humans alive. Then the Leviathan struck. Its massive claw slammed against the station, twisting the hull like paper. Warning alarm screamed. Lyra's voice cracked. "Captain, structural integrity, 10%. Rian's eyes narrowed. 10% wasn't enough to stop a human. It was just a challenge. Then we get creative. He dashed toward the weapons array, rerouting failing energy conduits to focus every remaining pulse at a single target. The Leviathan's main reactor core. "Captain." "It's suicide," Lyra said, her mechanical voice trembling. "Even you cannot survive this proximity to the reactor's output." Rian grinned, the faint curve of his lips almost feral. "Humans don't live to survive. We live to finish what we start." He slammed his hands onto the console. Energy surged, plasma arcs lashing out, and the turrets roared to life. Outside, the station fired, streaks of concentrated plasma carving into the Leviathan's hull. Its energy pulse wavered, green veins flickering like dying fire. The station shook violently under the feedback. Sparks rained like fireflies in the chaos. Lyra struggled to maintain her balance. "Captain, the hull doesn't matter," Rian shouted. "We either finish them, or we go down making them regret underestimating us." The Leviathan shrieked, an alien sound that rattled metal and bone alike. Smaller drones faltered, retreating under precise fire. Lightning carved across the sky, framing the human figure moving with deadly purpose through the chaos. Rian leaped onto a dangling conduit, firing the rail rifle at point-blank drones, one after another. Sparks flew from the shattered hull, debris slamming into his chest, but he didn't slow. Humans were survivors, yes, but they were hunters, predators, stormwalkers, who could turn death itself into a weapon. Another massive tremor tore through the station. Lyra braced herself as a section of the hull tore open to the storm. Through the gap, she glimpsed Rian's silhouette framed against violet lightning, plasma cutter in one hand, rail rifle in the other, hair and tattered uniform whipped by the tempest. "You're insane," she said, half in awe, half in fear. "Insane? Ryan's voice carried over the storm. Lyra, if I were sane, I'd be buried 6 feet under. I'm human. We stand again. Always. A final pulse of energy from the station struck the Leviathan's core. Green veins flared violently before shattering. The warship lurched, smoke and sparks erupting from every panel. Alarms blared across the fleet. For a fleeting moment, silence fell. Not peace, but the pause of inevitability. Rian Hale stood amidst chaos, breathing ragged, wounds burning, and alive in a way that defied comprehension. The storm outside raged, the alien fleet faltering, and yet a single truth echoed through the shattered station. Humanity would not kneel. Human will could not be measured. And the dead could walk again, unstoppable, to finish what had been started. The storm had passed, or at least paused. The violet sky over Viralon 4 was fractured with streaks of green fire and floating debris from the crippled Leviathan. Rian Hale stood atop the scorched deck of Outpost Echo 7, chest heaving, rail rifle still warm in his grip. Smoke and ozone stung his lungs, but the fire in his veins burned hotter. He had survived, again. Captain. The station is critically unstable, Lyra said, scanning panels that blinked red with failure. We have less than 15 minutes before a full collapse. You must evacuate. Ryan's gaze swept over the shattered outpost, broken turrets, scorched floors, and the blackened hull of the alien warship drifting in the storm clouds. He could have left. He could have vanished and survived. But humans weren't made for running, they were made for finishing. They'll recover, he said quietly, almost to himself, eyes narrowing. And when they do, I'll be ready. Lyra's optics flickered, uncertainty and admiration battling in her mechanical frame. Captain, why continue? You've already survived death itself. Why risk more? Ryan laughed, a sound that cut through the smoke like a blade. Because death doesn't decide when humans quit. Only humans do, and I never quit. Lightning cracked across the sky, illuminating the horizon. From the haze, tiny silhouettes emerged. Scout drones from the alien fleet scanning for survivors. Ryan's hands tightened around the rail rifle. Even fractured, even near collapse, humanity's edge was razor sharp. Then we fight, he said. His voice was a low promise, a growl that carried across the empty corridors. And we make them remember why humans never stay buried. The first drone fired, energy bolts searing the deck. Ryan ducked, rolling behind a shattered console. Sparks and debris flew. With the precision of instinct sharpened by death, he raised the rail rifle, firing 3 shots in rapid succession. 2 drones exploded, one shredded into pieces that sizzled against the metal floor. Lyra watched, her analytical mind racing. Human, you are improbable. And that's just the beginning, Ryan said, already moving toward the access hatch that led to the upper launch bay. Every step was a statement. Humans endured. Humans dominated. And he, Rian Hale, dead once and walking now, was the embodiment of both. The upper bay was a wreck. Crumpled fuselages, sparks, twisted metal, and the smell of burnt circuitry filled the air. Yet at the far end, a single drop pod remained intact. Ryan sprinted, plasma cutter humming, cutting through debris. Each swing was decisive, ruthless, a testament to human persistence. You think you can run into the fire and survive again? Lyra's voice was sharper now, worry layering her tone. I don't run, Ryan snapped, dragging the pod open. I finish. Inside the pod, the escape system hummed weakly, barely operational. Ryan scanned the controls, rerouting energy from secondary batteries. Sparks arced violently, illuminating his scars, his gaunt face, his eyes burning with the fire of someone who had stared into death and returned to demand justice. They'll follow, Lyra warned. Even if you launch, they'll trace. I'll make sure they wish they never did, he interrupted, slamming the activation. The pod hissed and engines flared to life, shoving him and Lyra toward the thinning atmosphere of Viralon 4. The alien drones converged, but Ryan was already moving faster than they expected. He twisted the controls, weaving through storm and debris, dodging energy bolts that could vaporize any normal human in seconds. You're insane, Lyra muttered, almost impressed. They already tried, he said, voice low, almost intimate, and failed. That's all the proof I need. The pod pierced the upper atmosphere, clouds streaking past like molten silk. Below, the shattered remnants of the station glimmered, a monument to human audacity. The Leviathan warship limped behind, damaged but still alive. Its energy pulse trembled as if it sensed Ryan's persistence. Ryan gritted his teeth, eyes focused on the distant void beyond the planet. I came back for this, he said quietly, almost to himself. For every failure, every loss, every dead friend. I'm not done, not yet, not ever. Lightning streaked across the atmosphere, illuminating the battered pod. For a fleeting moment, the storm seemed to bow to him. Dead once, unstoppable now. Rian Hale's shadow stretched across the planet below like a promise. Humanity's fire could never be snuffed. The alien fleet pursued, distant energy pulses marking their wrath. But Rian's mind was already calculating, already planning. Humans did not survive by luck. They survived by thinking, by striking, by refusing to bend. And he, walking out of death itself, was the perfect expression of that truth. Lyra's voice broke the silence. Captain, your determination, it's terrifying. Rian smiled, faint but deadly. Good, let them be afraid. Humans don't need to be feared to survive. We need to be unstoppable. As the pod disappeared into the stormy void, leaving Virulent 4 behind, one thing was certain. The dead man would return. And the war was far from over. The void stretched endless, a canvas of black broken only by distant stars and the faint glow of the crippled Leviathan trailing behind the escape pod. Rian Hale gripped the controls with calm precision, eyes narrowing against the glare of damaged sensors. Every movement of the pod was measured, deliberate, each second a gamble, each second a declaration that death could not claim him twice. Captain, Lyra's voice hummed. Tense and precise, they've initiated pursuit vectors. The alien fleet has split into interception formations. You have approximately 20 minutes before contact. Rian exhaled slowly, the hum of the pod's engines vibrating through his chest like a pulse. Good, he muttered. 20 minutes to remind them humans don't wait to fight. We attack, we survive, we adapt. Always. Lightning, residual from Virulent 4's storms, flickered across the pod's viewport. Shadows danced, casting eerie shapes inside the cabin. Rian glanced at Lyra, her amber eyes glowing in the dim light, reflecting both calculation and something closer to awe. You know, she said softly, humans, you are illogical. Statistically, your survival is impossible. Rian's smirk was sharp and knowing. Maybe. But humans aren't built on statistics, Lyra. We're built on will. And right now my will is stronger than your algorithms. The first interception drone struck. Energy bolts tore across the pod's hull, rattling Rian's teeth and sparking panels around him. He twisted, firing the rail rifle through the viewport, the shots precise despite the tremor of impact. The drone's hull shattered, spinning into the void like a falling star. Captain, evasive maneuvers alone will not keep us safe. They will overwhelm if we... They'll have to try harder, he interrupted, adjusting trajectory to weave between floating debris and scattered storm fragments from the planet below. His mind raced faster than the sensors could calculate. Every movement, every calculation, every instinct honed from death itself guided his actions. Rian remembered the day he had fallen. The flash of light, the screams of his crew, the taste of smoke and fear. He had died believing the mission was over. Now he was alive, unstoppable, fueled by every loss and every memory of failure. Humanity had given him back a second chance. He would not waste it. The pod lurched violently. A second wave of drones converged, their energy arc slicing through the darkness. Rian pivoted, plasma cutter ready, tearing through one drone, rail rifle blasting another into fragments that floated silently in space. Sparks ignited in the cabin, smoke curling like fingers of phantom fire. Lyra's voice, calm despite chaos, calculated rapidly. Captain, hull integrity is declining. At current trajectory and damage, pod may not survive more than 8 minutes. Rian's eyes narrowed, a cold fire lighting them. Then we make every second count. Humans never die quietly. We never die without leaving a mark. 8 minutes. That's 8 minutes to make them regret underestimating us. Lightning from Virulent 4's storms illuminated the Leviathan once again, trailing smoke and broken energy lines like veins of wounded light. Rian's pulse quickened, not with fear but with anticipation. The predator was wounded, and predators were dangerous, but prey, humans had a way of turning the table. Captain, their formation is tightening, Lyra warned. You must execute evasive strategy now or what? He said, voice low, almost a growl. Die? Already did. Fail? Already did. This time, we finish. He slashed at another drone with the plasma cutter, sparks raining across the cabin. Rail rifle fired again, precise, calculated, deadly. Each kill was a sentence, a statement that humans could never be dismissed. Then, the Leviathan struck with a pulse wave, knocking the pod violently sideways. Warning lights screamed, circuits overloaded and the cabin filled with acrid smoke. Rian braced himself, teeth gritted, lungs burning from the heat of exertion and adrenaline. "You could have escaped," Lyra said, her voice quieter now, almost reflective. "You could have lived, hidden, survived." Rian's eyes burned with determination, unyielding and absolute. Humans don't hide. Humans don't wait for salvation. Humans stand. We strike, we endure, and when the impossible comes, we finish it ourselves. The Leviathan faltered as another volley of railfire tore into its hull. Sparks and fragments floated into the void. Rian's smirk widened, the thrill of survival mingling with the fire of vengeance. He had walked out of death once. Now he was going to ensure that every alien who dared underestimate humanity would remember his name. The pod's engines flared as he veered toward the shadow of a nearby asteroid field. Behind him, the alien fleet struggled to maintain formation, drones colliding into debris, the Leviathan groaning like a wounded god. "Prepare for final maneuver," Rian said, voice low and deadly. "We hit them where they don't expect, and we finish what was started." Lightning flared across the asteroid field, illuminating Rian's determined silhouette. Dead once, unstoppable now, and humanity's reckoning was about to begin. The asteroid field loomed ahead like jagged teeth against the void. Shadows stretched and shifted with each pulse of lightning from the storms of viralstory, painting fractured silver and black across Rian Hale's escape pod. His hands gripped the controls with precision, eyes scanning the approaching alien fleet and the crippled Leviathan that trailed behind like a wounded titan. "Captain, the fleet is reforming. They've learned your tactic," Lyra's voice cut through the hum of the pod's engines. Her optics glimmered with tension and something resembling awe. "You will not survive direct engagement at this distance." "It is impossible." Rian's jaw tightened. Impossible is just a suggestion from those who haven't walked out of death yet. He leaned forward, plotting a course through the asteroid belt. "We finish this, Lyra, not because we can, but because we must. That's what humans do." A burst of energy struck the pod, shaking it violently. Sparks flew, alarms screamed, and for a heartbeat, silence filled Rian's mind. Memories of his crew flashed. Their faces, their laughter, their deaths. He had been dead, buried in both memory and loss. Now he was alive, and now he would make the universe remember. "Brace yourself," he muttered. "Time to turn the storm into a weapon." He dove the pod between two massive asteroids. Alien drones fired relentlessly, energy bolts carving through rock and metal alike. Rian twisted and rolled, plasma cutter flaring to life, slicing through drones that dared close. Rail rifle discharged, precise, deadly, cutting swaths through the enemy ranks. "Captain, they are converging on the reactor ship," Lyra warned. "If they succeed, the pursuit will be relentless." "We don't wait for probability," Rian interrupted. "We make it irrelevant." He angled the pod toward the Leviathan. Its massive hull glinted, green veins of energy flickering in pain. Rian's mind calculated trajectory, timing, energy discharge, all in a single heartbeat. He could have run, disappeared into the void. Instead, he charged. The first volley of drones collided with asteroid debris, exploding in showers of sparks. Rian's pod veered closer to the Leviathan's exposed reactor lines. Plasma bolts tore into the alien ship, cutting through energy shields and armor plating. The Leviathan shrieked, a sound of rage, fear, and disbelief all in one. "You're insane," Lyra said, her tone quieter now, reverent. "Even humans cannot survive this." Rian smirked, eyes burning with a fire that no death could extinguish. "Watch me." He triggered the pod's emergency discharge, unleashing the remaining energy in a focused pulse. It collided with the Leviathan's exposed core. Green veins of energy flared violently, sparks and explosions filling the void. The alien ship trembled, its systems failing under the precision of human determination. Another wave of drones surged, but Rian was already moving again, weaving through asteroids, plasma cutter and rail rifle dispatching enemies with lethal grace. The storm of debris and lightning became his ally, masking his movements, striking terror into the fleet that thought him merely dead. Seconds stretched, then snapped. The Leviathan convulsed violently, a final scream echoing across the void as its hull ruptured, chunks tearing away, green energy flickering and dying. The alien fleet faltered, drones colliding and retreating, unable to maintain formation. The impossible had been achieved. Rian exhaled, shoulders heavy, wounds burning. He had survived, yes, but more importantly, he had finished what had been started. Humans had endured, had fought, had turned the odds into insignificance. Lyra's voice softened. Captain, you've done it. They are retreating. You humans have prevailed. Rian looked out through the fractured viewport. Viralstory 4 loomed beneath, storms still raging, yet the horizon held a new promise. He had walked out of death, faced the impossible, and emerged victorious. Not just humans, he said quietly, voice carrying the weight of memory and loss. Just one human who refuses to die quietly. For a moment, silence reigned. Then the pod's engines hummed, steady and alive. Beyond the storms and wreckage, the stars waited, infinite and indifferent. Rian Hale smiled faintly. A warrior who had faced death defied it and reminded the universe that humans, fragile, stubborn, brilliant, never stay down. The dead had stood again, and humanity's fire would burn brighter than ever.